Lord Drakkon is one of the most famous villains in Power Rangers and also one of the most powerful characters in existence. This villain is the evil version of Tommy, basically a version from the multiverse who never decided to become a good ranger and did not join the mighty Morphin team. In the Power Rangers universe, there is a multiverse, which means that there are several universes in which different versions of each person exist. Each person's story repeats itself, but this time Tommy made a different decision, and this affected everything. Let's learn the whole story of what happened to this villain and how his decision affected the universe. It all begins with the story of the Black Dragon, a powerful machine that was being controlled in a very strange way, and the Rangers were in a battle to destroy this supposed monster. There is very little time left for the leaders of the land to surrender and start being loyal to Rita. Meanwhile, the Zords are ready to start the attack and the Black Dragon says that they are going to turn the cities into rubble. This monster's plan is to start in the Power Rangers city, and he is preparing Jason's Zord to start the attack. Despite this, the soldiers don't give up and want to keep fighting even though they know they have no chance of winning. Suddenly, they begin to see a green light that does not allow them to see well, and they hear a voice telling them not to worry. This voice is Jason, the Red Ranger who is now green because of the transformation with the help of Tommy. In addition to his green color, Jason also has Tommy's shield which gives him more energy and protection. The Black Dragon wastes no time and quickly attacks Jason, but he dodges the attack. The monster then tells him that no matter how he finds a way to transform again, he still has control of the Zords. Jason tells him that now that he can transform again, he has access to his Zord and all the others as well. All the Rangers respond by confirming that this is true since they were all inside their Zords. Zack has control of the Mastodon, Kimberly is still flying in her Zord and Trini is ready for action again online. Despite this, the Rangers do not have control of the Blue Ranger's Zord, so the Black Dragon takes advantage of this and gives the order to the Zord to begin the attack. Before the Blue Zord starts the attack, he receives an attack from the Dragon Zord and Tommy tells him that he is not going to let the monster destroy everything. Because of this, the Black Dragon changes size to start fighting the Dragon Zord and hits him hard in the face. The monster tells Tommy that he shouldn't have come back and now that he is alone nothing is going to save him. Tommy tells him that he has learned his lesson and because of that he is using the Dragon Dagger. We can see that Tommy is not transformed as he had to share his power with the other Rangers and is using his dagger to control the Dragon Zord. At that moment, Kimberly says that this time Tommy is not alone, and we can see that all the Zords are gathered to start the final battle. In the dark dimension, Billy and Golder see everything that is happening in the city as somehow it is all being projected in front of them. They both start talking about what is happening and Billy can tell that Golder is very angry. Because of this, he starts asking him several questions and Golder confesses that he doesn't like Black Dragon. He also tells Billy that he is the one who should be there in that battle and not Black Dragon. Now, Billy asks him more questions to try to get information about the identity of the monster and Golder starts talking about how the communication with this being went. He says that the Black Dragon is from the future, and it was a voice that came to Rita to make a deal. Golder is not sure if that is his true form as he can change size at will and he had never seen that. Then, Billy starts to analyze the monster's armor and he can notice that on the neck of the monster's armor there is a gateway. Then, Billy asks a big question and tells Golder. How is it that they can see everything that is going on in the city while being prisoners? Golder tells him that he can control the dark dimension because just because he is there doesn't mean he can't control it. He is only there because the Empress has punished him, and he respects that. Billy then asks him if he could leave or take someone else out, but Golder is a little surprised and angry at this question. Obviously, Billy uses his superior intelligence and begins to play with Golder's mind so that he can get him out of this dark dimension. Billy tells him that he is right, the Black Dragon is a robot that has an access entrance and the best person to disable that robot is him. He then asks Golder to free him so that he can defeat the Black Dragon and Golder can return to Rita's side. Golder understands the reference and says that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Billy manages to convince Golder, so he opens a portal so that the Blue Ranger can leave the dark dimension and tells him not to make him regret this decision. In the city there is a heavy battle and Tommy hears Billy's voice, who appears next to him. Tommy is very confused, but Billy tells him that it's a long story and begins to tell him about the access entrance that the Black Dragon has in his neck. They then both make a plan to teleport near that entrance, but Tommy is a little hesitant. Despite this, they both teleport near the neck of the monster and begin to open the door to gain access to the inside of the monster since it is a machine like the Zords. Inside the monster, they realize they were right, and Billy starts looking for a power source to stop the battle. The Black Dragon continues to attack the Zords, heavily, and because of this, Jason asks Tommy for help so he can better control the Black Dragon. Tommy replies that he and Billy are inside the Black Dragon and the Rangers are very confused by Billy's return. Meanwhile, we can see that Billy has found the power source and Tommy manages to destroy it. This causes the Black Dragon to fall and both Rangers must hold on to something inside this monster as it is going to be a hard fall. As the monster falls, it also changes size and slowly becomes smaller. The Black Dragon begins to shrink, and the Rangers begin to panic as they don't know what will happen. Tommy tries to teleport out of this machine, but apparently something is blocking his signal. Jason asks them to resist, but Tommy replies that they won't be able to resist, so he wants him to tell his mom that he loves her. At that moment, we can see that a green energy explosion begins until that explosion becomes gigantic and destroys part of the monster. The very worried Rangers start to move some parts in order to get inside the machine to look for Billy and Tommy. They all start to see everything inside that machine and Trini finds a part that she recognizes. She says that this part is from the Dragon Zord. In the command center we can see that Rita is talking to the being that controlled the Black Dragon and tells her that the Rangers have recovered that body. This being replies that he was never in that machine and that the Black Dragon was only a small piece of his plan. Rita begins to claim to him since he made big promises and this being tells her that he is going to keep those promises. Then, he also tells her that Tommy and Billy were transported to another place, and he knows where they are now. Now we can see that this being is one of the most powerful villains we have ever seen, Lord Drakkon, a being from a parallel universe, who says that Tommy and Billy are now in his universe. Tommy and Billy wake up and begin to see that they are in another place which is very destroyed. They are both very worried as they do not know what is happening, but suddenly they see something that leaves them very scared. In this city there are two giant statues of Rita and the Green Ranger. After the Rangers succeeded in destroying the Black Dragon, they didn't have to return to the pocket dimension, but because they were there so long, their parents thought they were lost. Now, the Rangers return home and tell their parents a lie to try to explain why they were missing for so long. Unfortunately, Billy and Tommy were unable to return as they were teleported to another universe. The police try to gather all the information to try to find them both, but the parents only know the lies told to them by the other Rangers. In the other universe we can see the giant statues of Rita and the Green Ranger, who seem to be the leaders of that world. At that moment, We begin to hear a voice that first welcomes all the people to the city, then says that the city is the capital of the new coalition of power and the final home of the Empress Rita Repulsa. He also says that she brought order and structure through the destruction of Zordon and his minions. He then says that the time is 8 p.m. and curfew is officially in effect. All citizens are to return to their homes immediately and by Lord Drakkon's order are urged to enjoy a pleasant evening. Tommy and Billy are very confused as to what is going on and begin to come up with theories as to the possible reasons. The theories are that maybe they are in an alternate timeline or maybe they are in the future of the same timeline. They also think that both theories may be correct, but they must be careful and not draw too much attention to themselves. This plan doesn't last long as at that very moment, a soldier stops them and starts to claim them for not following the curfew orders. This officer has a suit very similar to that of the Black Ranger, but with some differences and has a long gun with parts of Zack's gun. This officer asks them for identification, but Tommy tries to persuade him by telling him that they are not from that area and took the wrong train. Tommy asks the officer to just give them a warning and they will go their own way. The officer notices that Tommy has the Green Ranger dagger and quickly asks him about the dagger. The officer proceeds to arrest Tommy and asks them both to get on their knees, but Billy gives him a punch so they can both escape. The officer starts alerting all the other officers for help and the Rangers try to figure out the way since they know the town. They continue running and look for the school, but when they arrive at the place they find a big surprise. The school has been converted into a jail that bears the name Finster Memorial. Tommy and Billy are still very confused and want to find out everything that is going on, but the cops there waste no time. They start attacking the Rangers, who decide to jump into the water even though the fall is very dangerous. They both jump into the water and the guards say that they should alert Lord Drakkon of this event as he will want to know about it. Tommy and Billy make it out of the water and now plan to find out just how different that world is. In the main Ranger universe, in the Dark Dimension, Rita seeks answers from Golder about how Billy escaped. Golder obviously lies to Rita, telling her that Billy had a secondary teleportation device that the Black Dragon clearly couldn't find. He also tells her that he tried to stop him but couldn't because he was chained up. Rita doesn't know whether to believe him, but still proceeds to tell him about her plans. She says that the Black Dragon's involvement was helpful even though the crystal disappeared. Now they must attack the Rangers as their backs are against the wall and she has come to offer him another chance to redeem himself. Golder accepts this opportunity as that was what he was waiting for and that was the plan when he helped Billy escape. The other Rangers transported the remains of the Black Dragon to the Pocket Dimension to start investigating that whole machine and try to find out where Billy and Tommy are. At this moment, the only one who can do these investigations is Trini since she is the smartest one in that group and the only one who has worked with the Zords together with Billy. She says that she discovered that a person must be controlling the Black Dragon and she also discovered that the piece she is holding in her hand is identical to a piece of the Dragon Zord. Kimberly thinks that someone made a copy of the Dragon Zord, but Trini replies that it's not a copy, it's the exact same piece of the Dragon Zord, which is impossible. At that moment, the Rangers start talking about time travel and although at first, they think it's impossible, they realize that they lived through much weirder things than that. In Lord Drakkon's universe, Tommy and Billy find the command center, but they also find the worst nightmare they can imagine. All the Zords are destroyed, but they are Zords they don't know because they are the Thunder Zords. In the main universe these Rangers have not yet acquired the Thunder Zords, so this confuses them even more. Suddenly, the Rangers begin to hear a voice coming from underneath the command center. This voice can recognize Tommy and Billy, but more impressively, it also knows that they are not the Rangers of this universe. Tommy tries to ask his name, but the voice says he must go down to find out. Billy warns Tommy that this may be a trap, but he wants to find out who this voice is and feels confident because he knows them both. Billy stays upstairs, but Tommy comes down and the voice begins to guide him so he can find his way. Then, he finds a huge door that is locked, and even though he thinks he won't be able to open it, this voice gives him the motivation to try. After so much effort, Tommy manages to open the door and cannot believe what he is seeing. This voice comes from a sword called Saban that Tommy did not know since he had not yet obtained the power of the White Ranger. Tommy can't believe that a sword can talk, but Saban tells him that this is obvious since she is the only sword that talks. Billy is still very worried and yells at Tommy that he is coming down too. At that moment, several ships arrive that are looking for the Rangers, and Saban warns them that they must leave. Unfortunately, several officers surround them with guns pointed at them, and the Rangers have no escape. One of the ships opens its doors and Lord Drakkon starts to come out, who begins to congratulate Tommy and Billy for having succeeded. He then welcomes them both to his world and says that this is a better world, but says that their time in that world is going to be short. Tommy recognizes that Lord Drakkon is the leader of this universe, so he tells him that he doesn't plan to kneel before him, and then tells him that he doesn't know who he is dealing with. Lord Drakkon very calmly responds to Tommy by telling him that he does know who he is, since after all he is only an inferior version of himself. After Billy and Tommy travel to another universe and realize that everything was the same, but at the same time very different, they meet Lord Drakkon. A different version of the same Tommy Oliver, but with a greater power and as one of the leaders of that universe. Billy and Tommy were accompanied by Saban, a white tiger-headed sword that could talk, but it was much more than that, and it was about to prove it. This is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic book number 12. Lord Drakkon had told Tommy that he was an inferior version of himself, but Tommy very angrily replies that they are not the same. Interestingly, Lord Drakkon agrees with Tommy, and it is because he tells him, "I am better than you." Then, Drakkon gives the order to his guards to take the Rangers to the ship to lock them up, and thinks that after a long time finally the sword Saban will be his. The sword responds by telling him that his plans are slightly different, and his eyes fill with a red energy. The earth begins to shake, and everything starts to move. No one knows what is happening and everyone is very scared. Lord Drakkon gives the order to silence the sword as it is calling a Zord. Then, there is a loud explosion, and everyone goes flying. The white tiger Zord has awakened, and Saban has the power to awaken this Zord. This is one of the Zords that the White Ranger uses, but the Tommy of this time had not yet met him, as he did not know the power of the White Ranger either. Lord Drakkon orders his guards to go to the ship to start shooting at the Zord to destroy it. Meanwhile, Saban asks the Rangers to follow him to lead them on to another path to help them escape. The Rangers don't know where they are going, and Billy says that these Zords are destroyed, but Saban replies that sometimes looks can be deceiving. Saban had led them to the Falcon Zord, which was badly damaged, and the Rangers didn't know if it could fly. Despite this, Saban manages to awaken the Zord, and then it begins to fly. In the main universe, the parents of the Rangers are speaking in front of many people to give a speech about their lost children. Obviously, the parents don't know what is going on, and they think Billy and Tommy are lost. At Rita's new command center, She enters next to Golder and everyone else is excited by his arrival. Rita sits on her throne and tells Golder that he can now realize that the Black Dragon's efforts paid off. She also says that even though they couldn't keep the Zords, at least they managed to take the command center away from the Rangers and now Zordon is gone. In addition to this, Tommy and Billy are in the Black Dragon world and now the Rangers are weaker, so it's time to attack to keep applying pressure. Then, Finster presents his new project and says that it is the most ambitious so far, but it requires things that only Golder can give him. Golder is very confused and doesn't understand what they need from him. Rita responds with a smile, assuming Golder is very innocent, and tells him that she wants a better Golder. In the other universe we can see that the Rangers are still traveling in the Falcon along with Saba, but then they land in a forest much further north. The Zord needs a full night's rest in order to recharge his energy since he was deactivated for so long. Saba tells the Rangers that he made sure this forest is part of the Coinless, a united resistance against Lord Drakkon, and they must join that resistance. Tommy stops Saba as he thinks they know nothing about this resistance and the Sword wants them to join that group. Billy agrees with Tommy and tells Saba that they don't know anything about him either, or about the Falcon Zord. They don't even know anything about this universe. He also tells him that they are grateful to him for saving them from Lord Drakkon, but they still need a better explanation of everything that has happened. Saba agrees with Billy's request, so he tells the Rangers that he is going to tell them everything that happened, since he assumes that many things are the same in their universe, but there are things that are completely different. It all starts with the arrival of the Green Ranger. Just like in the other universe, Tommy got his powers in a different way than the other Rangers. Rita had given the Green Ranger powers to Tommy Oliver, but then Jason managed to destroy Rita's spell by destroying the sword Tommy had. At this point, Tommy could make decisions for himself, and in this universe, he chose to walk away from the Rangers. In this other universe, Rita took another approach. She said the world needed to be destroyed and then remade. Tommy chose to be loyal to Rita and help her in all her plans for world domination. Together they began to destroy cities, and the leaders gave up their power as some people supported Rita's actions. Every day more and more cities fell under the control of the Empress. They even normalized their rules and began to accept her rule. Due to all the support she received from the people, her power grew and she began to plan her last attack. Zordon's last hope was to create a new ranger, the most powerful ranger ever, and his powers came from all that was good in the world. Jason was the logical choice for him to use the powers of the white light, so the whole process began on the day everyone knows as the eve of the fall of the Rangers. On that day, allies arrived from other planets to form an army to protect the process. The war began and everyone was in that place to battle it out with every last drop of sweat. The Rangers had little time, so the process had to be accelerated, but unfortunately, they did not have enough time and the war caught up with them. The Green Ranger managed to get into the command center to stop the process. While the Rangers were losing the battle, Tommy and Jason were having the most legendary fight in history. Jason was using Saba to defend himself, but he couldn't get the White Ranger's powers. Tommy was giving him the opportunity to surrender and join Rita's army, but obviously Jason refused. Suddenly, everyone stopped the fight, and no one could believe what they were seeing. A new ranger had been created and another ranger had fallen. Tommy Oliver had joined the powers of the Green Ranger and the new power of the White Ranger to transform himself into a new ranger, and at that moment everyone witnessed the birth of Lord Drakkon. This was the beginning of the end of this universe. After having told all this story, Saba says that he was designed to be the White Ranger's sidekick, but since Jason fell, Zordon did everything he could to keep the sword from falling into Tommy's hands. Saban is Zordon's last sidekick and had been left in hibernation to be awakened only by someone pure. Saban tells them that they are both pure and that is why he was able to awaken, but despite this Tommy does not feel that way as he thinks he can become like Lord Drakkon. At that moment, they hear a voice, and an energy traps them. Trini and Aisha had arrived at that place. Apparently, they were very angry because the Rangers were in that place and for having woken up a Zord that was dead. In Rita's new command center, we can see that Finster has built an improved version of Golder using her body as an example to sculpt this new monster. Finster is impressed with Golder's great physique, but Golder gets mad at Finster because he thinks he can build a better monster. Rita interrupts the conversation and tells Golder that this is what collaboration is all about. Golder kneels to greet the Empress, but she asks him to stand up, so Finster doesn't make a mistake with the sculpture. Finster tells her that he already has everything in his memory and Golder gets angry because he feels he has been standing there for too long like a fool. Finster replies that he simply needed him for conversation as sculpting sometimes gets boring being alone. Rita tells Golder that if Finster needs him then he should stay there. Golder then doubts Rita's plan as he feels he could do it alone, but she tells him that she is going to give him an army that a warrior like him deserves. Finster runs out of the material he uses for sculpting and must go looking for more. He starts looking around and then apparently finds something very interesting. In the other universe, the Rangers are still tied up as the Coinless don't trust them. We already know that the man accompanying the Coinless is Bulk, who has a gun pointed at Tommy and Billy. The Coinless don't want to believe the version given by the Rangers. They even tell Saban that this is something Drakkon could do to send spies. They also begin to doubt Saban and says that possibly Drakkon could have built it up to say everything it has said so far. The Rangers want to prove that they are telling the truth, but the Coinless tell them that believing them is not up to them, and at that moment, Zack appears saying that it is up to him. Zack greets Saban and asks him to say the same thing he said to him the last time they spoke, so Saban tells him that he told him he would return one day with those who would save this world, and as promised, he has now returned. Zack decides to trust them, so he asks the others to release them and take them inside. Now we can see the inside of the Coinless base, and above you can see the Mastodon logo. There are many people living in this place and small makeshift rooms are seen everywhere. Zack tells the Rangers to go shower and get ready as they have a lot to do. Trini is still wary of all this, but Zack tells her that he has decided to trust Saban, and after all this time they need her to be right. Billy then tries to ask Trini if she is okay, but she replies a bit distantly and tells him that she is not the same Trini he knows. At Lord Drakkon's command center, the soldiers are giving the report that they have failed to find the Rangers, but Drakkon replies that it doesn't matter since he knows where they went. He then begins to complain to his main guard as his team allowed the Rangers to escape and he will not tolerate that level of ineptitude. Because of this, he revokes his powers and appoints another new officer to hand over those powers to him. For the first time we get to see Scorpina after the Black Dragon arrived, and now, we understand that she did not die, but teleported into Lord Drakkon's universe. She tries to treat Lord Drakkon as if he is just like Tommy Oliver, but he threatens her not to compare him anymore. He also tells her that he will keep trying to find a way to bring her back to his universe, and they will also help the Rita of that universe to conquer everything as they did here. Lord Drakkon already suspects that the Rangers joined the Coinless, so he feels that they will soon be able to destroy all their enemies at once. Now we get to see the huge army Lord Drakkon has, and then we see that Skull is inside that army as an infiltrator. Skull manages to hear that there is a rumor that Lord Drakkon supposedly found the coinless, so now he must try to inform Bulk about this news. In the main universe, Trini is still looking for a way to use the leftover parts of the Black Dragon to find something to help her with the search for Tommy and Billy. Kimberly arrives to try to distract Trini a bit so she can take a break since she's been searching for so long, but she tells Kimberly that she's not going to stop for now. Jason and Zack are fighting for practice, but Zack asks Jason for a short break as he feels Jason is unstoppable. Here we can see that the Rangers are still using the Green Ranger power as they have not been able to access their original powers yet. Jason tells Kimberly that this is the way for them to deal with the stress and at the same time stay in good shape for what may come. Jason then tries to blame himself for everything that is going on and feels that he was not a good leader, but Kimberly replies that there is no manual for how to deal with everything that happened. Then they both start talking about the possible relationship she and Tommy may have, but she doesn't know if starting that relationship was too stupid with everything that has happened. Jason tries to give her words of motivation and Kimberly tells him that's why he's the leader. Just then the Rangers hear Alpha 5's voice saying he has news. He then tells them that he has found a weakness in Rita's command center and there is a way for them to retake the command center to regain their powers. In the other universe, Billy has found a photograph of the Blue Ranger from that universe in which he reflects that he has passed away. He then begins to ask Trini about how that death happened and she tells him that Billy died a hero because he saved her life. Zack begins to tell Tommy everything that happened to Lord Drakkon and tells him that he took on the Rangers one by one, but in the end, they couldn't hold out long enough. Drakkon took all the coins of power from him, but Zack managed to kick Drakkon to take away his sword and at that moment is when Saban told him that he was going to come back someday with those who would save this world. Zack and Tommy continue talking, but Bulk interrupts them to give them the news that Lord Drakkon already knows everything and is planning an attack. Zack then tells him that it's too late because the ships are already there. In the main universe, the Rangers are still listening to the plan that Alpha 5 has, and Jason tries to summarize everything to give orders to the other Rangers. He also says that they're going to take back the base, but they're also going to take back Billy's coin, which the Black Dragon had taken from him to use as energy to control the Zords. Alpha says he's very excited, but then we see that it's not really Alpha talking. Finster has reprogrammed the robot's head to send a message to the Rangers. This was what Finster had found when he went to get the sculpting material, and with this plan they could lure the Rangers to the new base to destroy them with Golder's new army. The Rangers are already inside Rita's new command center guided by Alpha 5's voice, not knowing that it is actually Finster who is using the robot head to communicate with the Rangers and lead them into a trap. Because of this, the Rangers are very confident. They even tell Alpha that if the plan doesn't work then they won't be able to get out of there, and this is obviously exactly what Rita wants. Finster and Rita try to use words that Alpha would commonly use to make the Rangers feel confident, and it is working for them. Alpha tells them that he is very excited to see them, but they are possibly not that excited, and that is because the Rangers have already arrived at the trap. Golder's new army was waiting for them, and we can see that they are many monsters just like Golder, but with some differences. These monsters created by Finster using Golder's anatomy are improved, and you can see that they are all bigger. Previously, Golder has caused a lot of problems for the Rangers, so imagine the problem the Rangers have now with all these giant copies of Golder. In the other universe the war had just started and all of Lord Drakkon's soldiers arrived to attack the Coinless group. Some soldiers try to destroy the invisible force field, while Zack tries to start organizing the whole operation to try to defend against Lord Drakkon's troops. The soldiers already managed to breach the force field, so Trini asks Billy to go to the shield generator to get it working again, as that breach may continue to grow and the soldiers would manage to get the war tanks in. Billy is surprised as the Coinless didn't trust him and Tommy, but he is still willing to help. Some guns have been damaged, and they must go to reset them, but the road to those guns is filled with Drakkon soldiers. Tommy offers to go reset the weapons and has a plan that includes Saba, so Zack gives him permission to go. In the main universe, the Rangers start the battle with the clones, and no matter what they do, more and more clones keep appearing. The Rangers are confused and Finster tries to explain to them through Alpha's voice. He tells them that these clones have all Golder's abilities but have none of the flaws. The Rangers try to play with Golder's mind by saying that they don't know if he agrees to this plan, but Golder tells them that he serves his Empress however she wants. Because they are monsters created by Finster, the Rangers think they can easily destroy them, but unfortunately, the monsters repair all the damage done and the Rangers no longer know what to do. Fortunately, Kimberly has an idea and asks Zack to help her destroy the roof of the place to escape through that part. The rocks crush several clones, so the Rangers have a chance to escape, but Rita already had a plan for this. Outside that place there were more clones, but these clones were giants, so the Rangers need the Zords to be able to fight them. In the other universe, Drakkon soldiers are still trying to get into the Coinless shelter, but Zack, along with several people, start shooting at them so they can't get through. Zack tries to give words of motivation to his soldiers so that they do not give up and fight for their home. The battle is very difficult, both groups are attacking hard and do not want to give up. Unfortunately, Drakkon's soldiers are winning the battle, but Zack doesn't give up and keeps trying to motivate his soldiers. Then, he is surprised as someone unexpected appears. Scorpina arrived with several soldiers dressed as the Red Ranger and tells Zack that he doesn't have the victory in his hands. Elsewhere is Tommy along with other soldiers to try to get to the damaged weapons to reset them, but they are attacked by Drakkon's ships. Tommy asks Saba to execute the plan they had agreed upon, and Saba tells him that it was already there. Saba was referring to the Falcon Zord, which appeared to attack Drakkon's ships, and then Tommy entered the Zord to begin his attack. Billy and Trini are still at the force field generator trying to repair it, but both are worried as everything is too damaged and the shield is not going to be as strong. They must think of another solution, and Trini mentions that they must continue to protect the relic. Billy wants to know what the relic is, and Trini shows him the Blue Ranger Morpher. She tells him that the Billy from that universe saved her and also gave him the Morpher to protect him from Lord Drakkon. The Rangers think that, if Lord Drakkon gets this Morpher, then all hope is going to end. In the main universe, the Rangers are already inside their Zords ready to start the battle with the giant clones. The battle begins and we can see that these clones are very wild. In their thoughts there is only destruction, and that is what they want to do with the Rangers. One of these clones throws itself towards the Yellow Ranger's Zord and wants to destroy it. This monster manages to destroy part of the Zord, and this causes Trini to fall out of the machine. The other clones manage to catch Trini, and Rita gives the order to take her to her. In the other universe, Tommy is still battling Drakkon's ships with the Falcon Zord and is apparently managing to destroy many enemy ships. Bulk is leading the other soldiers to the weapons to reset them, but at that moment other Drakkon soldiers appear dressed as the Pink Ranger and have long-range weapons. Lord Drakkon is on top of one of his ships preparing to jump on top of Tommy's Zord, and after he achieves his objective, he breaks the entrance hatch. Lord Drakkon manages to enter the Falcon Zord and greets Tommy in a very sarcastic way. All this causes the ships to shoot down the Zord, and it seems that Drakkon was able to easily overpower Tommy. Drakkon throws him out of the Zord and Saban starts screaming his name in great concern, but Drakkon tells him to shut up because they both belong to him. Now Lord Drakkon has the Green Ranger dagger, and he also has Saban, two very powerful weapons controlled by one of the most powerful Rangers in history. In the main universe, Rita has Trini, who seems to be very exhausted, but Rita apparently has a plan for her. The Empress tells the Yellow Ranger, who is still using the Green Ranger's coin powers, that she is a ranger ready for rescue, but not to worry since it's almost over. In the other universe, Tommy is on his knees and Lord Drakkon has Saban to begin the punishment. He then says he sentences Tommy to die, but he's going to give all the coinless who surrender and swear loyalty to him a chance. He also asks them to give him the relic, which we already know is the Blue Ranger Morpher. Trini and Billy are in hiding trying to protect the Blue Ranger Morpher. Trini tells Billy that he can use the Morpher to transform himself so he can face Lord Drakkon. Despite this, Billy thinks he's not going to be able to do that, but Trini keeps insisting and she tries to motivate him, but apparently, it's not working. Drakkon shouts that this is the last chance, while Saban keeps pleading not to do it. At that moment, Trini and Billy appear, both of whom have the Morpher, yell for him to stop and they both give in to Drakkon. When the Black Dragon arrived, it caused a huge explosion which destroyed the command center as well as Zordon and Alpha 5. At that time, we thought it had also destroyed Scorpina, but in reality, she was transported to the other universe where Lord Drakkon is the leader. This happened because the explosion was not something common, but it was the door to a portal that connects to the multiverse. This is why the universe we know is different from Lord Drakkon's universe, and this explosion was the first door that connected these two universes. This was triggered by the Rita of the main universe we know and Lord Drakkon, who comes from the other universe, in order to send the Black Dragon into the main universe. We all know that the Black Dragon was controlled by Lord Drakkon from the other universe, and this was to destroy the Rangers of the main universe. When the explosion happened, Zordon was destroyed, or at least that's what everyone thought, but in reality, he was wandering through time. The Zordon of the main universe begins to think about everything he is experiencing in this journey through time and space. He begins to question whether being able to see the events of the past is a gift or a curse by not being able to intervene in what is happening. Life is full of if-onlys, as regret is a natural part of life, even if you live outside of time. When this explosion happens, Zordon begins to travel through time, and although he knows he has been in a physical world, he also understands that he lives in a time tunnel, but this situation is completely different. Now, he is not outside of time, but in between it, specifically between two timelines. The portal that opened did not destroy him, but it did not completely push him into the other universe either. Because of this, Zordon now has the opportunity to be able to see everything that has happened over the years in that other universe and wants to know how this Dark Ranger came to be. In these first images we can see how Lord Drakkon was controlling the Black Dragon from his universe and was threatening the Rangers of the main universe. Zordon is seeing things that he had not seen as he had supposedly been destroyed by the explosion at the time. We can see that he has two timelines, a purple one and a blue one, which he can touch in order to see what has happened in that universe. The purple one is from the main universe and the blue one is from Lord Drakkon's universe, so now Zordon starts to open that timeline to find out what Drakkon's beginning was like. The events begin after Jason destroyed the sword that had Rita's spell on it, but in this universe, weeks had passed, and Tommy had not returned to join the Rangers. The Zordon of this universe obviously does not know that the Zordon of the main universe is watching these events. This Zordon from this other universe is full of hope and thinks that Tommy is going to be able to overcome the influence Rita has on him, since good always overcomes evil. The Zordon from the main universe hears those words and feels he was wrong as things began to change. Tommy Oliver bowed to Rita and joined her to form an army to destroy the Rangers. Zordon keeps looking at all these events through the timeline window and feels very sad about what Tommy from that universe did. In that other universe, Zordon still had hope that there was good in Tommy, but despite this he had to continue to help the Rangers in the great battle. Because of this, he sought out new Zords and new allies, which were also being destroyed by Tommy. One of these allies was Ninja, who created Saba together with the Zords of the White Light Power. The more the Zordon of the main universe saw the events of this other universe, the more he believed that this Tommy was not worth believing in. This was the day Tommy had defeated Jason and combined his Green Ranger powers with the new White Light powers. This one took over Saba, which was telling Tommy that he was wrong, but Tommy told the saber that it could only speak on his command. He then told Zordon that he was giving him one last chance to surrender and swear allegiance to him, otherwise he was going to finish him off. Tommy had poisoned Zordon chronologically, meaning he had poisoned him through time and space using some kind of magic. In this way he is going to detach Zordon from time and space so that he can die alone in the void. Zordon tells him, "There is still good in you, Tommy, you don't have to do this." Drakkon gets very angry and tells him that his name is not Tommy, then launches his power at Zordon. This causes Zordon to detach from time and space, sending him somewhere else to die. What Drakkon didn't know was that in that same place was the other Zordon from the main universe, and they both met there. They are both confused, but quickly understand the situation and begin to talk about everything that Zordon from the main universe has seen from the other universe. This Zordon from the main universe says he doesn't know what to think about everything he's seen since in his world Tommy Oliver joined the Power Rangers. The other Zordon says that's excellent, but then starts to take his last breaths. Zordon from the main universe asks him if he wants to say anything, but the other Zordon just tells him that he simply doesn't regret anything. Zordon from the main universe does not understand this, as he thinks that believing in Tommy ruined everything in that other universe. The other Zordon with his dying breaths says that sometimes things don't turn out the way we want them to, but he believes that good will triumph over evil in the end, even if it's not the way we initially believed. He then tells him that everything that has happened in his world has brought him here and apparently will bring others from the main universe into his universe as well. At the end he advises Zordon from the main universe to continue to have faith in the Power Rangers and to also remain true to his beliefs, as there is nobility in them, even when they don't produce the outcome he expects. He then takes his leave and explodes in an explosion of light that engulfs everything around him. In this way, Zordon of the main universe was able to see his own death, even though he was the Zordon of another universe. Then, Zordon from the main universe begins to lose the effects of the portal that brought him to that place and begins to drift away from the timelines. At the same time, he begins to hear a voice calling his name. This voice came from Saba, who was using her connection to the grid to keep Zordon in that plane of space-time, and that is why he returned near the timelines of both universes. At first Saba thought that this was the Zordon from her universe, but then she realizes that this was a different Zordon. Saba feels guilty for not arriving in time to save the Zordon she knows, but this other Zordon tells her that they can still save her universe. He tells him that in the future Rangers from his universe will arrive in the other universe, including another Tommy Oliver. Saba says that, if Zordon trusts this other Tommy, then he's going to trust him too. We then get to witness what Zack had narrated, the event when Lord Drakkon took his morpher from him, but he was able to kick it away and saved Saba. At that point, the Saber begins to tell Zack that he is leaving, but that someday he is going to return with those who will save the world. What Zack didn't know is that this was a message from the Zordon of the main universe who was using Saba to send him that message. After this, Zack would spend several years building defenses and fighting Lord Drakkon. Saba would go into hiding until the day Billy and Tommy arrived to give the world a new hope. At that time, Zordon learns that sometimes, if only, doesn't always mean something good. Earlier, Lord Drakkon was about to take Tommy's life, but Billy arrived to surrender and give him the Blue Ranger's morpher. Before he surrenders, Billy wants to tell Drakkon some things, and at the same time we start to see that in the main universe Rita has Trini captured. Rita starts to tell him that he should accept the fact that it is the end for her and all her friends so that everything will be easier. In the other universe, Billy starts explaining to Drakkon that he was there when the Black Dragon started altering the Ranger's powers. He also tells him that the only way Drakkon could have altered the Ranger's powers was by using a crystal from the Morphin grid. In the other universe, Rita continues to try to discourage Trini by telling her that her Goldars are going to destroy everything. She tells her that the Goldars are going to pull the Rangers out of their Zords and will be brought before her as the weaklings they are. Rita wants to force Trini to watch her destroy the Rangers while she watches everything. The witch tells her that this is her last chance to pledge her allegiance and surrender her coin of power. In the other universe, Billy goes on to explain to Lord Drakkon that he realized that this universe's Trini used the same technology as the Black Dragon to build the shield generators. So, he realized that he could use this technology to do the same thing Lord Drakkon did with the Black Dragon. In the main universe, Trini starts attacking the Goldars and tells Rita that the thing that blocks the Ranger's teleportation only works on them, but apparently doesn't work on other things. The Trini from the other universe tries to explain everything Billy said and tells Lord Drakkon that he did them a favor by allowing them to get close. She then uses the Blue Ranger's morpher to attack Lord Drakkon with all the energy Billy could use as the Black Dragon did. This energy is so powerful that it reaches Lord Drakkon and all the soldiers that were around him. Meanwhile, in the main universe, Trini manages to teleport all the armor of the Black Dragon and begins to use it. She reprogrammed that armor to sync with her in case of an emergency like this and asks Rita, who's the weak one now. Trini uses the armor to defend herself. Rita begins to despair and asks Finster to grow any monsters. Trini seizes the time and searches for the Blue Ranger's power coin, which was still in Rita's command center. With the technology of the Black Dragon's armor, she begins to energize the Blue Ranger's coin, and with this she manages to restore the powers to all the Rangers. Now, the Rangers also have control of the Blue Ranger's Zord, so Jason asks everyone to begin the Megazord transformation. Now all the Rangers have their powers back, their colors, and the Megazord is ready for battle. Rita then tries to belittle everything Trini has done by telling her that she didn't do anything important since after living thousands of years she has seen Zordon's soldiers fall before her. Trini challenges Rita to a battle, but Rita tells her that she will accept the challenge another time and then disappears. At that moment, Trini wants to tell the other Rangers what had just happened, but suddenly she receives an important alert. The Rangers continue to destroy the giant Goldars using the Megazord, but in the command center there was still a normal-sized Goldar clone. This clone began to taunt the original Goldar by saying that Rita wanted to replace him, but then the original Goldar becomes enraged and destroys the last remaining clone. At that point, the Rangers also destroy the last remaining clone of the giant Goldars, and then Trini calls the Rangers to see something very important. She noticed on the Black Dragon sensors a giant wave of grid energy coming from the Blue Ranger's coin from the other universe. The Rangers think it might be Billy, but they are not sure about this, and Trini says they can use the Black Dragon to open a portal even though the dimensional fields are still weak. What she doesn't know is how long the open portal will last, nor how stable it will be, but it's the best chance they must find Billy and Tommy. In the other universe, Lord Drakkon has lost his powers, Tommy now has Saba, and the Rangers tell Drakkon it's his turn to surrender. Then, Drakkon's army tanks start attacking the Rangers, and they are furious that those soldiers were out of range of the initial attack. Despite this, Zack says that it doesn't matter and now it's time to attack. The battle between the two armies begins, but there is another battle about to begin as well. Drakkon and Tommy are facing each other, ready to fight, but first Drakkon starts trying to persuade Tommy with words. He tries to provoke Tommy by telling him that he needed his friends in order to defeat his dark version, but Tommy tells him that he's not going to provoke him. Drakkon then tells him that he can't prove his worth if he can't even beat him, and this angers Tommy, who starts attacking Drakkon. Then, Tommy tells him that he admits he needed his friends to get there, but that's fine with him. Drakkon tells him that they are not a source of strength, they are a burden because when he is going to need them, they are not going to be there. Tommy then responds by saying that his friends don't need to be there to be a source of strength for him, because when he feels that darkness, he remembers that they trust him, that they believe in him, and he believes in them. At that moment, the unexpected happens, a portal opens and the Rangers from the main universe arrive in this other universe to help in the battle. Tommy uses the moment to remind Drakkon that his friends do arrive when he needs them. Jason tells the Rangers that they must shoot down the tanks if they want to win the battle, but Bulk managed to activate the weapons and destroyed the tanks. Tommy says that confidence and hope need more determination to believe than paranoia and fear. He also tells Drakkon that maybe all those people are afraid of him, but they are not loyal to him and do not respect him. Drakkon then responds by saying that faith in his friends will be his undoing. They were there today, but they won't be there the day he needs them the most. Tommy tells him that's a very depressing way of looking at things, and it's clearly not today's winning argument. Drakkon tells him that maybe it isn't, but today is just one day, and after these words he launches himself into the void. Drakkon's army is losing the battle, so Scorpina tells them they must escape. Then, the Rangers from both universes come face to face, and this is quite strange for everyone as they are seeing a version of themselves from different times. Trini and Billy from the main universe begin to talk about everything they had done, while Jason and Kimberly hug Zack from the other universe since he had not seen the version of them from this universe for several years. Then, the Rangers say goodbye and quickly use the portal they had opened to return to the main universe, but they did not realize that the same energy dragged Lord Drakkon's body with them. The Rangers arrive at the command center, which was destroyed, and Saba begins to explain that she managed to become a link to Zordon. He then projects Zordon's image and tells the Rangers that when they build a tube, they can then redirect Zordon there. Elsewhere in this same universe, Drakkon wakes up injured and confused, while some helicopters and soldiers surround him. Upon arriving in this universe, he is captured by soldiers of the United States government. After this, he is locked in a subway cell in a complex called Promethea, which was created by Gray Sterling, the first Red Ranger of which we had spoken previously. In this place he was kept with power restrictions and isolated from the outside world. In addition, he had guards at the entrance so that no one could enter the cell. Even so, this did not prevent the entrance of an unexpected guest who came from the same universe of Drakkon and who knew all the mess he had made. That guest was Saba, the White Ranger's sword, who appeared to take advantage of the opportunity to kill him. Saba fails and releases Drakkon, who rips Saba's head off and uses what's left to teleport back to his universe. In the future, we can already see what Lord Drakkon is going to do in the present, and the Power Rangers Time Force team discovers a rift in space. Wes warns that this rift is also affecting other universes. The Rangers approach with the Megazord, but it is attracted and devastated by the energy of the rift. Because of this, the blue, green and yellow Rangers are swallowed by the rift. Wes tells Jen that she must go to the past to find the connection point where this originated. Jen knew that Wes would be swallowed by the rift along with the Megazord, but she had no other choice and went back to the past. Before leaving, she saw the Megazord disappear with Wes on board, and suddenly, a specter of Lord Drakkon appeared and tried to catch her, but couldn't. In the present, Jason and Tommy confront Grace about not telling them that she had Lord Drakkon locked up. Lord Drakkon then travels to Ninja's house and convinces him to help him repair his connection to the Morphin grid. This happens in a universe we know, and at that time the Rangers had not yet met Ninja, but Lord Drakkon comes from another universe where time is more advanced, which is why Drakkon did know of the existence of Ninja and managed to convince him with lies, telling him that he came from the future, and in that future, they were friends. After passing several tests, Ninja repairs the power coin and then Drakkon leaves him unconscious. In the command center, Billy and Trini try to repair the Black Dragon in order to warn Coinless of the possible return of Lord Drakkon. The Coinless are those Rangers and people who survived in Lord Drakkon's universe and united to confront him and help others. This is why Billy and Trini were working hard to repair the Black Dragon to warn them, but they had to take a break. At that moment, Lord Drakkon infiltrates the command center and steals the green Chaos Crystal. This crystal is used by Rita to cross dimensions by accessing the Morphin grid and can only be charged with energy with the power of the Green Ranger. This is why after Lord Drakkon stole this crystal, he goes in search of Tommy to be able to charge the crystal and have enough energy to open portals. At that moment in another place, Kimberly and Tommy had taken a break from all the problems that were happening and had decided to go to the movies. They were trying to talk about other things, but in their heads, there was only the question of how they were going to defeat Lord Drakkon. After arriving at the place where they were going to take different roads to go home, Tommy tries to kiss Kimberly, but she tells him that it is not the right time and they each go home. After walking away, Kimberly realizes that she did want the kiss and goes back to look for Tommy, but finds a bitter surprise. Lord Drakkon had appeared and pierced Tommy with Saba to fill the crystal with energy. Kimberly transforms and begins to fight Drakkon, but at that very moment Jen, the Pink Ranger from the future, appears. Jen attacks Lord Drakkon with her weapon, but he opens a portal with the crystal and leaves. Kimberly tries to help Tommy and asks him to please not die. Tommy says his last words, but stops breathing. Regardless of Kimberly's desperate plea for help, Jen tells him that there was nothing left to do, he was already dead. This is just the beginning of the shattered web and all the things Lord Drakkon is about to do. Many other stories are connected to this multiversal event, and this is why we will continue to study this story of Lord Drakkon, who has returned to his universe and was able to reunite with Finster. Lord Drakkon had combined Finster with parts of Alpha 5 and made him his right-hand man and his only supposed friend. When they met, they hugged and began to discuss future plans, but Finster tells him that although he will help him in any way Drakkon wants, he still doesn't have all the solutions. Lord Drakkon tells him that he has the person who will have all the solutions, and at that moment he shows Ninja, who had him locked in a small crystal tube. Now Zordon gathers the other Rangers in the command center, and they all watch as Alpha covers Tommy with energy. The Rangers think that Tommy is still alive, and that Alpha is just trying to save him. At that moment, Zordon tells the Rangers that Tommy was dead. Each Ranger had a different reaction, and they didn't know what they were going to do with the body. In the end, they decide to leave him in the same place where he died so that the police could find him, and his mother could mourn his death. Several days later they have a funeral to say goodbye to Tommy, and we can see how Jason is suffering a lot. At that moment, Alpha warns that Jen had woken up since after the fight with Drakkon she had been unconscious for several days. When Jen wakes up, she explains to the Rangers who she was and where she comes from. She also explains to them what happened in her time and shows them something very important. Jen teaches the Rangers that they inspired more Rangers for many years and explains what the timeline of all the Rangers was like. Because of the event that had started with Tommy's death, the Morphin grid had tried to protect itself and changed the timeline and locked each Ranger team into a kind of pocket universe so as not to create paradoxes. She also explains that the rift she saw in her time started in this time with Tommy's death, as that is like a small fracture that over time gets bigger until it breaks, just as it happened in the future. Kimberly presents the idea of traveling to the past to stop Lord Drakkon from killing Tommy, but Jen tells her that she can no longer travel to the past because of the rift and that everything from the past is now sealed. In the Samurai Rangers Pocket Universe, Lauren is practicing new moves, and at that moment Lord Drakkon arrives with a large army. The Samurai Rangers do not know who they are and feel confident as they have symbols of power that protect the house, but this was not enough, and Lord Drakkon manages to break through the shields. The Rangers begin to fight against the army and defend their house, but despite all the effort, the army manages to defeat them and take away their morphers. Lauren the Red Ranger manages to escape with the help of the Blue Ranger, and Lord Drakkon gives the order to look for her. In the midst of this chaos, Jen realizes that all this is happening, and thanks to Billy and Trini, they manage to repair and change certain things in the Black Dragon. Alpha was able to send them to that universe of the Samurai Rangers to help with the situation. The moment they arrive they notice the army and Zack wants to attack, but Jason tells him that they should be smart since that army managed to wipe out a team of Rangers. Jen realizes that there was one more Ranger and they manage to save Lauren before the army takes her out. Elsewhere, Drakkon is working with Finster on his new plan, a combination of the morphers he took from the Samurai Rangers. Although Finster was unsure, Lord Drakkon told him to start the process and, in the end, they achieved the result they wanted. Drakkon was filled with more power than before and with a new transformation. For this process they only needed one morpher, and Finster didn't know if they had to use all the other morphers of the samurai, but Drakkon tells him that thanks to Ninja he could understand that he doesn't need all the morphers, but one of each kind. The other morphers that are left over will be used with the whole army. The moment the Samurai Rangers fell, Zordon uses part of his reserve power to summon a meeting with the three emissaries. By using his remaining power, Zordon will no longer be able to join the Morphin grid when he dies. After calling the meeting, the three emissaries arrive and Zordon begins to talk to them about the threat Lord Drakkon poses to everyone. Zordon asks them to talk to the Morphin Masters to disconnect Lord Drakkon from his power. The three emissaries tell Zordon that the Morphin Masters cannot get involved in human problems and cannot decide the fate of worlds. Zordon at that moment shows them all the achievements the Rangers have made and the great struggles they have gone through, as they have been warriors who have fought with courage and kindness. He also shows them how the Tommy Oliver from another dimension became Lord Drakkon and how he was affecting all the other dimensions with armies and death. Even with all that Zordon showed them, the emissaries thought that these problems were just a grain of sand and Zordon was seeing them as a mountain. They thought that the Rangers were going to be able to solve this problem alone and that the Morphin Masters did not have to be involved. Zordon pleads with them one last time, but they just tell Zordon that they were waiting for the day when he would join them in the Morphin grid, but now it is not going to be possible because he used his remaining power to call that meeting. After sending Zordon back, the three emissaries begin to dialogue and doubt if they made a good decision or if it was a mistake, since Zordon is a great sage who would never play with these delicate issues. Lord Drakkon begins to invade all the pocket universes that had been created and Jen realizes this. Alpha manages to make a connection so that Zordon can send a warning message to all the multiverses at the same time and tells them about what Lord Drakkon is doing. At that point they receive a connection from Dr. K, a genius scientist who was the creator of the Power Rangers RPM arsenal. She tells them that she managed to connect with them despite belonging to a different dimension and informs them that they have been under attack for 8 hours. She also tells them that they have managed to stop Lord Drakkon's cannons, and this has helped them to resist in the battle. Unfortunately, the connection is lost before she can help the Rangers of this dimension understand how to stop Lord Drakkon's cannons. Suddenly they receive a transmission from the Coinless and say they lost the base, but think they possibly have a way to stop Drakkon. The Rangers tell Alpha that they should go to Dr. K first so she can upgrade their morphers, but Alpha tells them that inside and outside of Corinthia they are blocking teleportation and could only manage to appear 15 kilometers away from there. Because other alternate universes were under attack, Jason gives the order to split up to visit 3 different locations at the same time. Zack, Trini, and Billy would go to the world of Drakkon to the coordinates of the Coinless. Jen and Kimberly would have to go find other Rangers who have survived to bring them to the command center of this universe. Jason and Lauren would go to Corinthia to find Dr. K to tell them how to stop Drakkon's cannons. Meanwhile, Drakkon from his base is dialoguing with Finster about all the morphers they have prepared to give more powers to Lord Drakkon at the same time. At that moment, Drakkon is remembering what happened in the Zeo Rangers universe. Drakkon had impersonated the Tommy from that universe and managed to obtain Adam's morpher without harming any Rangers. He also recalls conversations with Jason as he tells him how he feels about Tommy and how he has been a great example to the other Rangers. At the end, before leaving back to his base, Drakkon has a conversation with the real Tommy from that universe and tells him that he doesn't understand how the other Rangers idolize him, and then takes his life away. This is something Lord Drakkon also tells Finster as he fails to understand what it is about Tommy that makes others love him. Finster tells him that love is something that should never make sense. At that moment, one of the soldiers arrives and tells Drakkon that Dr. K had discovered how to evade the cannons. Because of this event, Lord Drakkon decides to bring more reinforcements to Corinth, but this is to be after his transfer of power. Jason and Lauren arrive in Corinthia in a part of the desert, and then Jason calls the Rex to help them on the journey. On that trip, Jason and Lauren talk about their lives to get to know each other better and realize all that Lord Drakkon has damaged. In the world of the Coinless, Zack, Billy and Trini arrive in a destroyed world. At first, they couldn't recognize where they were because of the destruction, but then they realized they were in the Angel Grove juice bar. At that moment the Coinless arrive and tell them that Skull was undercover for a long time inside Lord Drakkon's troops. Skull was able to see everything that was going on inside the base and realized that Ninja was being held under a spell. The Rangers of this universe don't know who Ninja is since they live in a later time than the Coinless, so they had not yet met Ninja. The Coinless explain who Ninja is and say that he is the key to defeating Drakkon. Meanwhile in Corinthia, the RPM Ranger are battling against Lord Drakkon's army, who are now also samurai because of the morphers they have stolen. In the middle of the battle, a noise is heard, and it was Jason with the Zord coming to help the Rangers. Jason and Lauren manage to wipe out the few remaining soldiers and exit the Zord to meet up with Dr. K. The RPM Rangers talk to Jason to find out who they are, but he tells them there is no time and tells Dr. K that they must take her to his dimension. Suddenly, Lord Drakkon appears with his new army, including the Psycho Rangers and several others. Now we can see a Lord Drakkon with a slightly different transformation sporting some black parts. We can also see SPD Squad A, and behind Drakkon is Korag the Wolf Knight, a villain from Power Rangers Mystic Force. Elsewhere, Kimberly and Jen are traveling through space and have a conversation about the side effects of time travel. Jen tells Kimberly that although she is hoping for a miracle, they really can't save Tommy anymore, and that even if that were to happen, still, things are never the same again. Kimberly and Jen come across Terra Venture, the Galaxy Rangers base and descend to go see what had happened there. Although the place looks empty, they find a sign of life for the moment and surprisingly meet Astronema. She had been one of the worst threats in the universe, but at that point they were way ahead in time and Astronema had already been reformed and turned into a Pink Ranger. Each pocket universe is at a different point in time, and this is why Jen is a bit confused as she is not the Ranger she expected. Kimberly and Jen take Astronema to the Zord and there is when we can see that there are many other Rangers that they have been able to rescue. At that moment, they receive a message from Alpha saying that Jason and Lauren arrived in Corinth and found Dr. K, but they need all the help they can get as they were currently battling Lord Drakkon and his entire army. Meanwhile, Dr. K has been able to change Lauren's morpher so that she can resist Lord Drakkon's cannons and that is why she makes her attack with a big explosion. On the other hand, in Drakkon's command center are the Coinless along with the other Rangers trying to make a plan to rescue Ninja. Zack from the Coinless and Zack from this dimension are having a dialogue as they feel weird to be able to see each other. Then, they both enter the command center to rescue Ninja with the help of Skull. Back at the Corinthian battle, several Rangers try to attack Drakkon at the same time, but he throws a great energy at them with his sword, and they all fall to the ground. Drakkon removes the morpher from RPM's Yellow Ranger since he didn't have a morpher like that yet. At that moment, the other Rangers arrive along with Kimberly and Jen, but Drakkon's cannons take away her powers. Now the supposed help has been for nothing. Jason pleads with Dr. K that they should stand down as she is very important, and the Rangers can do nothing more. The Doctor tells Jason that in order to teleport from there without leaving the city, they must destroy the building. At the Drakkon base, both Zack and Skull manage to free Ninja from the spell, but unfortunately Finster discovers them and sends the soldiers to shoot. The shot was going straight for the younger Zack, the one from this dimension, but the older Zack, the one from the Coinless, pushes him away and gets shot. Skull sacrifices himself and tells Zack to leave with Ninja as he is the last hope. In Corinthia, Jason manages to break the building with the Zord, but it is badly damaged. At that moment, Jason asks Alpha to teleport them back to the command center. On the other side, Zack arrives with Ninja and gives the bad news to the others of what had happened. Then, Alpha teleports them all at the same time. Back at the command center, some Rangers along with Zordon, Ninja and Commander Kruger, talk about Lord Drakkon's plan and how damaged the Morphin grid is. Ninja tells them that Drakkon is weakening the grid so he can get to the heart. All the signals are sent from his tower to constantly transmit through the grid. Jason then introduces the group to Grace and Dr. K so they can both help figure out how to stop Drakkon. Just then, a ship arrives at the command center and all the Rangers freak out as the command center is in a pocket dimension of pure energy. Out of the ship comes Andrus, the Red Ranger from Power Rangers in Space and the person who killed Zordon to save the universe. Andrus tells the Rangers that he already knows where the other Rangers they kidnapped are. On the other side, Drakkon is very angry about Ninja's release and now he has kidnapped Skull. At that moment, Finster tells him that he managed to find Ranger Slayer, but they can't look for her since she is way back in time. Drakkon asks her to communicate with her somehow and Finster manages to open a portal so they can talk. Drakkon begins to talk to her, but Finster realizes that Kimberly is no longer under the spell and Drakkon tells her that this will be the last time they see each other. In the command center, the tension can be felt and as Grace repairs the morphers, Jason tries to make peace with her. Just then Kruger arrives to discuss the plan of attack and says they need a big ship and Grace offers Terra Venture. Alpha interrupts them to give them the news that other Rangers from other dimensions were answering the call he had put out through the grid. When they go outside, they see one of the most incredible images of all time, many Rangers arriving from space to join the coming war. Many Rangers from all eras come together answering Alpha's call to defeat Lord Drakkon. A very epic and emotional moment for everyone, as this is the help they needed. Although the initial plan is to destroy Drakkon's tower, they still have no plan to defeat him. This is why Zordon has been thinking for a long time about a plan to defeat him, but at the same time it is still very dangerous. Zordon pays a visit to Rita together with Commander Kruger to ask her to help them stop Drakkon, because if he destroys reality then he would also be destroying her reality. On the other hand, Drakkon prepares for battle by melting the ninja steel and transforming Saban. Back at the command center, many Rangers start getting to know each other and Jason prepares to give a big motivational speech to all the Rangers before the war begins. After the speech, he gives the dragon powers to Kimberly so she can control the Zord. When they arrive on the moon, they are surprised by the great amount of soldiers that Lord Drakkon now had, since he didn't have so many before, and then the battle begins. In Drakkon's command center are Zordon, Rita, Ninja, and Kruger, as they must be in the center of Drakkon's energy to be able to do the magic. During the battle, the Rangers realize that Drakkon's sword can now steal the others' powers. At that moment, Serpentera, Lord Zed's Super Megazord, awakens, but is now controlled by Drakkon. Quickly, Serpentera destroys several Zords in one bite due to the large size difference. Several Rangers try to attack Drakkon, but he takes away his powers in one blow with his sword. Surprisingly, Kimberly throws the dragon's word with the power bow straight at Drakkon's chest, and although he thought it had not caused him anything, he suddenly becomes very weak and returns to his command center to then find the surprise that Rita, Zordon, Ninja, and Kruger were waiting for him. Rita had cast a spell with a candle, just like she did with the Green Ranger, to take away his powers. At that moment, Rita says that she is not going to wait any longer and plans to take his life right there, but Zordon and Kruger start to complain to her, telling her that this was not the plan. At that moment, Finster arrives to save Drakkon, and with Lord Zed's staff he gives an energy shock to everyone. Finster tries to get rid of the candle, but Drakkon tells him it is useless as the candle continues to consume his powers. Drakkon tells Finster to fill it with the power of all the other morphers, but Finster tells him that it is unstable since he only needs one morpher from each group. Drakkon thanks Finster for being concerned for his life, but then Drakkon breaks his neck. Outside there is a terrible war, but Drakkon goes in search of all the morphers to fill himself with power and presses the button to begin the transfer. The war continues and the Rangers try to take down the tower, but Serpentera, Lord Zed's Zord that Drakkon now controls, prevents them from getting there. The Rangers, in search of a solution, decide that they are going to combine several Zords from different dimensions and eras so that they can be a good opponent to stop Serpentera. Jen does the math and decides which Zords to use and asks the Rangers to name them. This unnamed Zord, they make it grow to the same size as Serpentera, and Jason asks Noah, the Blue Megaforce Ranger, to summon his Zord so he can use it to destroy the tower. When Jason enters the Zord, he asks the Rangers who are handling the giant Super Mega Zord to stop Serpentera so he can approach the tower and shoot. At that moment, they restrain Serpentera and Jason prepares to shoot, but Serpentera manages to escape. Jason fires the shot, and at that very moment Serpentera destroys the Zord in one bite. Everyone is surprised because no one knows if Jason is alive or dead, although no one saw him get out of the Zord. With the shot, they manage to destroy the tower and the giant Super Mega Zord pierces Serpentera with the sword. At that moment, the sky is destroyed and from the crack comes out a giant Lord Drakkon with a different transformation. In this transformation we can see that his entire suit is black and gold with the heart of the Morphin grid on his chest. They all start to enter the ship to get out of that dimension, including Ranger Slayer who was accompanying them at that moment. When they are all in the ship, they try to leave that dimension, but all of a sudden, a glow covers them completely. At that moment, time changes and transforms into a new reality created by Lord Drakkon where Rita is his mother, Zordon is his father and Kruger is his dog. In this reality Drakkon is treated as a hero and as the most glorious thing. Suddenly, Kruger starts barking and Drakkon realizes that there is a threat outside and he must go out to fight. Drakkon morph with the heart of the Morphin grid embedded in his chest and realizes that the threats are a tiger and a hawk in energy form. We also get to see the Dragon Zord and White Tiger Zord controlled by Jen, but they don't attack the energy animals, as they say, Drakkon has everything under control. Drakkon attacks the animals and sends them to the bottom of the sea and then is interviewed by reporters like a hero. Among those reporters were Trini and Zack, who treat Drakkon as the only hero there is. Zack asks Drakkon if he is worried that animals are attacking more and more often, and he gets angry about this question because he says that he will not allow anything to hurt the people of his world. At that moment, he hears a voice asking him,
"Even if your world is a lie?"
That was the voice of the real Tommy Oliver appearing from the reflection of the glass of a camera lens, telling him that nothing of that world should exist. Tommy's voice could only be heard by Drakkon, and this is why when Drakkon responds, the reporters were confused. Drakkon decides to end the interviews and leaves the place. We then get to see that Finster is the butler and Billy has become Drakkon's mechanic. In addition to this, Jason and Lauren have a ninja academy to teach others about carrying Lord Drakkon's message. At that moment, Finster warns him that there is another attack from the energy animals. Now among the animals there is a bear, which gives Drakkon a hard blow that knocks him to the ground while he keeps hearing Tommy's voice claiming him about that fake world. At every moment of the battle, Drakkon keeps seeing Tommy in every reflection he has near him, which tells him that he can't even defeat a hallucination, even though he still thinks he is a god. At that moment, Drakkon launches an energy beam that destroys part of a building and breaks all the crystals, while Tommy keeps tormenting him, telling him that he is weak since he killed all the Tommies from all dimensions to create this false reality. Drakkon goes crazy saying that Tommy is not real and starts destroying everything he finds. In the background, the voices of the three emissaries are heard saying that this is the opportunity they were waiting for, and suddenly Tommy comes out of the reflection of one of the broken glasses on the floor. Tommy now had a physical form and goes in search of the Power Rangers to make them wake up from that false reality. He then arrives at Kimberly's workplace, who was working as a waitress, and kneels when she sees Tommy, thinking he is Drakkon. Tommy frees her mind and brings back all the memories that had happened throughout the battle against Lord Drakkon, including Tommy's death. At that moment the other Rangers appear. Elsewhere, at Drakkon's house, he tells Finster that his world rejects him as he can see the energy beasts getting stronger and his mind is betraying him. Finster tells him that he just needs to relax as he has been working hard and should leave in the car as Billy finished repairing it. He also tells him that he hasn't seen Billy since he left with him. At that point Drakkon realizes that something wasn't right since he hadn't been looking for Billy. Then we can see that Tommy begins to tell his story and says that it all started when the Ranger Slayer from Drakkon's world saved him and told him that when the time was right, he would understand. She had thrown an arrow at him that contained a shard of the green Chaos Crystal, the same crystal that Drakkon used to charge him, killing Tommy. This caused that crystal inside him to activate and pull Tommy's essence out of time and space. His soul was in nothingness, and he could only be a spectator, watching Drakkon gain ground and defeat them while he could do nothing. Tommy then introduces the Rangers to the three emissaries and tells them that he was able to wake them up and connect them back to the Morphin grid. The three emissaries began to apologize because due to their arrogance they did not realize that such a powerful being could have come and defeated them and took the heart of one of the masters inside the Morphin grid. When he obtained this heart, Drakkon made whole universes disappear and created this new false reality. Despite everything, the emissaries managed to escape from the Morphin grid and arrived at the same space where Tommy was. From there, they began to gather forces and plan how they were going to infiltrate Drakkon's new world. Tommy says that the energy animals are the doubts that destroy Lord Drakkon inside him, and the only way to defeat him is to remove the heart of the Morphin grid. At that moment, Lord Drakkon enters and starts attacking the Rangers in a terrible way. Then Lauren and Jen arrive in the Dragon Zord and the White Tiger Zord, and Tommy gives them the order to attack him with everything. While Drakkon was distracted with the Zords, Tommy seizes the moment and removes the Morphin grid's heart from its chest. Because of this, they both run out of powers and enter an empty place where they begin to fight, and Tommy manages to defeat Drakkon. At that moment, reality begins to be destroyed and the emissaries open a portal so that the Rangers can escape. In spite of everything, Tommy tries to save Drakkon, but Drakkon turns his back, and the emissaries take Tommy away. Now they are all inside the Morphin grid, and the emissaries tell them that they can't use the Morphin grid to rebuild reality, but the Rangers can, although many things will never be the same again. They also realize that if they go back to the way things were before, then they will have no memory of what happened. Despite this, the Rangers decide that they must return everything to the way it was, as it would save all the worlds. This means that Lauren and Jason's relationship will never happen, and neither of them will remember what happened. Now the shattered grid is back to normal, and again the Power Rangers save everyone, but this time including universes and other dimensions. If you like Power Rangers, like this video and subscribe for more Power Ranger stories.